Going on, Reality After Show fans? I'm Matt Bischoff from Survivor Caramoan, here with Billy Garcia and Jonny Fairplay. Oh no, I'm not. I'm not. I'm with the worst mustache I've ever seen in my life, Alex Trias, and Dan Montchal, whose beard is looking good.
Thank you. Question: who's Billy and who's Johnny, Matt?
That's a good question. You're Johnny and Alex is Billy.
I disagree. I disagree.
No offense to Billy. I love Billy Garcia. Jonny Fairplay has a Billy Garcia coin, which I do not have. Which
I do feel like Johnny is probably the one that is more likely to rock a shitty mustache. So Alex may be onto something.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Green hoodie, shitty mustache. Jonny Fairplay.
You're gonna trash talk the 8-1 Eagles. How are your Bengals?
They're actually the last two games they played.
They've been playing better.
They finally playing well. Past two games. But I'm stoked on it. I've been having fun. I honestly, the whole for those who don't know, our Patreon group and stuff that here at Reality After Show. If you want to check it out, it's realitypatron.com. Join it. Pay us some money so I can buy some cool Christmas gifts. I'm just kidding. But anyway, it's a good way to support the podcast. But listen, we have a Patreon fantasy football league, which I've never done fantasy football.
And it showed this week when he started 4 people who didn't play.
Well, I haven't even looked at my fantasy football in weeks. Like, I remember one time Johnny said, you're supposed to every Wednesday or Thursday morning, pick your team. I haven't done that since the second week. So in other words, you're saying that I'm supposed to pick people to play, and I didn't.
Had you just had people who were playing this week, you would have won. You lost by 6 points, and you started 4 people who were either hurt or on a bye.
This is why I should have my son do this. I really don't care about fantasy football. Just so you know, I did it because I just was I'll do it, and then I have my son here picking everything, and then I just don't care. I just don't look at it. But that pisses me off because I would love to be beating people that actually do care about it. It would be I'm the recruited Survivor fan that makes it deep into the game while the true fans fucking get voted out. That's the way I felt with Caramoan.
You take a minute, once a week to look at it while you're taking a shit, and you could easily have a better record, Matt.
No, I need to. We're here to talk about.
We're here to talk about
Survivor 45. But Jonny Fairplay is in Chicago, I believe. He's somewhere different. He's like a local band that's on tour, right? So he's in different cities. He's with Austin, excuse me, from this season. I mean, I actually I don't know, but he's at a Survivor viewing party in Chicago, and tomorrow House of Villains. So yeah, Johnny is always on the move. And we did a couple podcasts this week, you guys. We did House of Villains Roundtable, which I don't know where you were, Dan. Aren't you usually on those things with us?
You guys had Mikey B. I was just
we did. Mikey B was busting Johnny's balls about buying Instagram followers and crying over pinball games. It was fucking hilarious. So go listen to the House of Villains episode 4 Roundtable because Mikey B, I love that dude and he's fucking hilarious. But guys, this is an episode where we were kind of talking before we got on here where, last week was a big episode. Caleb, all the votes were cast against him. He plays the shot in the dark. And I was loving it because it was just an exciting moment. And Jay goes home. So Jay is gone. So now it's supposedly the merge. And what were you guys' initial reactions of tonight's episode? Because 2 people go home. There's 2 tribal councils. A lot went down. Proceed with your opinions.
So this was the first. This is the second episode this season that felt like 90 minutes. I felt like there was more commercials than show, and I think a big big problem with that is the fact that it was a double tribal. So you have all these storylines that are going on right now, and you completely stifle them because you just want to have this, we're going to do 2 tribals, because they just want to do 2 tribals. You didn't allow like the stories to really come to a head, where then you could have done this at 10 like they usually do. So I don't know. It felt very stunted to me. It like you could see it with who goes home, that it like stunted the gameplay as well, because I thought the people that went home in theory shouldn't have gone home, and there were other options on the table that would have made more sense from a strategic standpoint. But I think just this twist just really roadblocked a lot of people's decision making.
Yeah, it was really weird because it starts out and the whole first segment, it's just, well, what's Bruce doing now? Like, he's becoming this total wild card. People don't know if they can really work with him. And sure, that plays a little bit into it, but it didn't make sense. It would have made more sense had Bruce gone home this episode, but he's still there. And so I feel like they really didn't do a great job of telling the story of why Sifu and Caleb go home, especially Sifu. Maybe Caleb makes a little bit more sense after everything that happened last episode.
Yeah.
But it was the story of why Bruce would have went home this episode, not Sifu. And then we were talking before, and on top of that was we finally get to the merge. It's like, okay, it's an individual game. You know, it's supposed to be exciting. And this is back-to-back episodes where we're splitting them up into groups of 2. Like, there's no need for that. If you want to do it, like Alex said, have it at 10 like you have been doing. But let's see how a normal vote plays out, where one person's immune, everyone's voting at one tribal council, and see where everything falls after that. I thought it was just way too early to have this double boot episode, an episode after the merge.
I agree, and I didn't want to. I'm glad that you two gave your opinions, because you always have like, if I'm shitting on something, Alex is always the voice of reason, the other side of the coin. I thought tonight's episode was just kind of like Alex, you said a minute ago, like you could tell it was 90 minutes. It was just more bland and not as exciting as I think it could have been with just one group of people. I feel like the first 20 minutes was nothing but Bruce is annoying to people, right? Like I just feel like it was just Bruce. I was looking forward to the challenge based off of, the fact that when Andrea Bolke from my season of Survivor Caramoan, she did this challenge. She fell, and I think it was like her original season, maybe. This is a gnarly challenge. So like I was kind of hyped up after last week's episode because it was so exciting, and Alex and I had such a great time podcasting about it. No one fucking quit. It was just a good episode. So I feel like they dropped the ball slightly on the way they kind of put this one together. But listen, just like anything, everything can't be home runs. Even watching House of Villains, there's 4 episodes in. There was an episode where I was like, like I think it was episode 3, like this challenge was like, that just didn't kind of go over right, and blah, 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 blah. But look, it's I think it's looking good. Next week, Survivor Auction is back. Can't complain too much. But listen, Jay is out. It's night 13, and Caleb makes a comment like, welcome to the merge. Like, he is so happy that he's here. The shot in the dark worked, which is freaking awesome. And they're kind of all talking about like, wow, this could be a Survivor record here, which it was. And then Bruce calls out Katurah about voting Caleb, and Bruce is like the ultimate thorn in Katurah's side. So we just see these two people continuously since episode 1 have this conflict. So we'll go ahead, Alex.
No, I was going to let Dan go. Dan looks like he had something to say.
Yeah. Well, it's just, I think what we're seeing here, and especially as it goes on, is it's a good proof of showing why just because it's the people that you started with, it isn't who you should stay with the entire game. And you see that in kind of all the tribes. There's no better than Katurah and Bruce. But that's part of the reason why I'm happy that Bruce stays, because I feel like when Bruce goes, I want to be like Katora to have that Jay to Michaela moment. Like, it was me. I sent you home.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Dude, that would be great.
See, I wanted him to go here, so then when they came back together, just to see Katora's reaction to seeing Bruce is out of the game and also not on the jury. Like,
yeah.
The facial expressions she would have had would have sent like all of us like, oh my god, like.
Well, I can only imagine that Dee goes back and is pissed off that she didn't get to send Sifu home.
Well, Sifu is one of those players where he was kind of just like there, but at the end of the day, he like was always having a good time and like embracing the Survivor experience. I feel, even though he was not a threat at all to win the game or go deep or whatever, I still think like he was a fun character. I think he could have been more fun if he had the chance.
But there's like a dichotomy we also see between how his send off versus Caleb's send off and how their reactions are, because like we see Sifu like sort of like coming to grips with the fact that he's pretty much a sitting duck right there in that group in confessional. So I feel like when we get to tribal council, I think like he does his pitch, but for real, like he's like at peace with the fact that he's most likely going. Yeah. Whereas like Caleb is fighting tooth and nail, trying to find that edge, trying to find a plan that really, we'll get to it. There was no benefit for anyone other than Caleb for that plan. Mm-hmm. Him going out, you see him like pissed. Like he is just downhearted, pissed off that the plan didn't work. Like we finally get to see someone voted out of this game in this new era who's like legitimately upset over the fact that he got voted out.
Yeah, he's fucking bummed. And you have people that are quitting this season, and then you have someone like Caleb who's visibly devastated that he's gone. And I want to say for people that want to support the podcast and become a patron at realitypatron.com, we do a weekly Q&A. We have a secret Facebook group, but we're also covering Australian Survivor. And something went down on Australian Survivor this past podcast that we did, if you're a patron. And it was so gnarly. And like this person decides to stay in the game of Survivor because they want this so badly that literally the worst case scenario happens. And most people would decide to go home, but they stay in the game, right? I'm not going to give any spoilers besides that. And it just made me realize like how lame the people on American Survivor are that quit the game. Caleb is going to be going to Ponderosa. Same with Sifu, and be so bummed that they're not still in the game. I feel that they really would love to be in the game, especially Caleb. I know he's a huge fan, and he painted himself as a big target early, and I think he might have been my winner pick. So, but Caleb, if you're listening to this, I really loved you as a player. I think you're awesome. I hope you come back on some sort of returnee season where you play with some real legends. And Sifu, you were also great. You were just a fun character. So listen, it's day 14 now after like the intro that they brought back that we all love. Katura and Caleb are talking. Caleb has, weird feelings about Bruce. And like, that's what I'm saying. This whole beginning of the show is Bruce. It's like Kendra and Kelly are talking. Kendra wants Bruce out, but Kelly wants to keep Bruce because he's kind of part of her number one alliance. I honestly think Kelly is a very smart player. She's kind of played both sides earlier in the game, but I feel after tonight especially that she could be a force to be reckoned with in this game.
I think one of the smartest things that Kelly's doing is she wants to keep Bruce around, not only because, he's told her continuously that he's her number one, but also I think she's being smart about it because up to this point, she hasn't had to draw that line in the sand, and flipping on someone like Bruce or whatever, it makes her more exposed and put her out there. And so I think she's a very smart player, and she's waiting as long as she possibly can before she makes that big move, keeping her cards close to her chest. And I think that was her biggest reasoning more than anything of not wanting to cut Bruce tonight.
Yeah, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly there. The only thing that I keep getting nervous about for Kelly, because I am rooting for Kelly. I think Kelly's a very strong player. I want to see her go far into this game, but they really hammered it over our heads this episode of how much like this isn't the time to take out Bruce. If you need to take out Bruce, it has to be precise. And I'm worried that it will not be precise. And somehow Bruce outlasts all these people that are very annoyed with him. And he just keeps going farther and farther, annoying everyone while all these other really good players are suffering at the expense of it.
Mm-hmm. Are you kidding me? It'd be great if Bruce made it all the way to the end. Bring back the bitter juries and just have them get ripped at the end. That'd be phenomenal.
But it wouldn't be phenomenal for the people I'm rooting for.
True. I will say this. I do. The fact that Bruce is still in the game and he's at the merge and he's going to make jury even if he gets voted out next.
With an idol.
He, had a bad luck the first time he played, and he's very lucky to get the second chance because not many people do. So I'm glad that Bruce has gotten to this point. Because I would have loved to be in the position Bruce is in. However, Bruce is like the annoying, it's like a relative of Philip Shepard, but even more annoying. Like Philip's kind of funny. I don't find Bruce to be necessarily funny. He's different, but he's definitely a quirky person. And I think that he's going to be blindsided at some point. I think that you have this Katura Bruce conflict going on and a lot of other people wanting Bruce. So I think his days are numbered. But he does have an idol, so who knows what's going to happen with that.
Who knows with that? Then that also leads into the scene that determined right at the beginning of the show that this was Caleb's boot episode. And it was Caleb and Emily coming together. They're all feeling good about it. But you had that confession from Emily, and Emily's just like I did push to try to get him to stay. It didn't stay. And if I keep trying to push for him, even though I really like him and I do see him as valuable for my game, me pushing him will eventually get everyone to stop looking at him and look at me. And I'm the one who goes home instead of him. So I need to sort of take that step back. She gets the gift of not being on the tribe that sends him out at the very least.
Yeah. Right.
So she's sort of it's a gift for her that opens up her game and makes her a true free agent. Mm-hmm. But so I loved seeing the self-awareness of her from there, being able to separate the bond that you have with the person that you really want to do something with, but deep down in your gut that this only ends with both of you going out or you going out before them.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's great self-awareness on her part, but also if you're looking at it, eventually when we do get to a normal tribal council, you think maybe next week you're going to have that Bello versus Reba kind of showdown. And with Emily just being the lone Lulu, I think that allows her to kind of skate by even longer, because if it's a pair or even a trio, sometimes they skate by, but it's easier to turn your focus back on that. But her being the sole Lulu left, it'd be easy to say we can get her eventually. And that's how she ends up skating by deep into the game.
And that's what we're more accustomed to. Like what we saw last season is rare. It's very rare where we see a trio being deemed the middle for the majority of the post-merge. Mm-hmm. To the point where they're still seen as the middle when they are the majority. It's that's an abnormal thing that happened last season.
So where are we at now, Alex?
So we are at Seafood trying to figure out a tackle of what's a tackle and what's a hold, and we get a bunch of Bruce football analogies in what turns into the most awkward Bruce and Caleb conversation to try to rehash everything, and Caleb wondering how he got through over 28 years of his life without Bruce telling him what to do.
Yeah, this is where I just wrote Bruce is annoying as hell. Because, we see like Sifu and Bruce like practice fighting and shit like that. And Caleb makes a comment like, I feel like I'm Bruce's kid. It's like I feel like I'm like Bruce is the dad. I'm just like the kid, and it's just like he's definitely annoyed at Bruce. Bruce is being painted annoying by a lot of people.
And the weird confessional from Bruce was like, well, I hope now that he was able to just survive based off that and still got 11 votes that it humbled him. But he's a likable guy. How long does that humble him? 12 hours? I was like, why did he need to be humbled at all? Like he was willing to work with you.
Oh, yeah.
You betrayed him.
Like, yeah, I just it's just a bummer because, like I said, Bruce is annoying me at this point. Jake has kind of impressed me this episode, though, you guys. Like, Jake has not really been on my radar. I know Johnny's hung out with Jake maybe once or twice this season and says he's really, really cool. And there's been times where I thought Jake was like going to go get medically evacuated for passing out. But this was a good episode for Jake. Kelly and Jake are talking at the water well. Jake needs the numbers to make it, far into the game. So Jake is actually appearing like more of a strategic threat than I had originally anticipated. And I'm totally cool with it, especially now that Caleb's gone. I'm kind of rooting for Jake.
Well, he is the underdog. He's the underdog right now because as much as I do agree with you that like this was like these past few episodes have been like this build up for Jake. Jake doesn't want to sit on his hands. Jake doesn't want to see the game pass him by. Jake wants to take control of this game. Yeah. And he's like trying to see the bigger picture here. He's trying to pull the pieces together. Like him and Kelly, like God bless them. They're like doing everything in their power to try to keep their original tribe together. Jake and Kelly, for the most part, see the benefit of trying to get Emily and trying to get Caleb. But it's like the rest of these people just can't stop themselves from infighting for the life of them. And like, I think that's like ultimately what will be Jake's downfall, besides one very, very bad mistake he makes later this episode that costs him this vote. But I will not knock someone for trying to play hard because they feel like their life in the game is on the line.
I love that statement because there have been people this season who have impressed me by when their backs against the wall, they're fighting for their life here. Like, so like you have some people that are really like Jake, who's like almost getting medically evacuated from passing out and will do anything to prove himself and be in this game. And on the flip side, you've had people that have quit. So I love that there are fighters here. And
yeah, and we can say that about the majority of this. We could say that about like a majority of this group. Like even the people like whoever you end up like throughout the season rooting for or against, like you may not like the core 4 alliance of Reba, but like they're all playing hard. They're all playing very tactfully. Like Jake is playing hard. Kelly is playing hard. Like you have all like
Dee's
I hate
playing
Drew,
hard,
but Drew's playing hard. It's like
this is why like I think it was so unfortunate that we had the double boot tonight because otherwise I think we would have had an awesome 2 segments of this mass scramble trying to grab Emily, trying to grab Caleb, which side gets them, which side stays together. And I think it would have turned into an amazing tribal council.
So I think we go one step further. I think we see the downfall of Reba. Like, I think Reba is going to be fixated on, well, Caleb didn't win immunity. Caleb's got to go. Caleb called us out. And then, like, it's trying to just convince Emily to still stick with Caleb and flip on Drew and Austin. And then you don't have this scenario where like Drew doesn't have his safety without power. Like you have all these advantages of Reba and you come into this mode where Reba has their back against the wall, maybe even without realizing it, but they have all the tools to reflip that vote. Like you could have had something really cool in this vote, but you chose not to.
Yeah, I mean, honestly speaking, if I'm being real, yes, one single tribal council with this group of people would have been lovely. Break it into the 2 tribal councils. Both tribal councils was a bore fest to me. My wife was like, "This is fucking." Yeah, my wife was like, "This is fucking boring. Like, this is fucking boring." And I was like, "I agree." And I was like, "It sucks because like we podcast about this, and I fucking love Survivor. And if they would just would have had the one tribe, it would have been a totally different conversation we're having."
Oh, it absolutely. And there's a big chance that one of the 2 people who left tonight was still going to be the person who left tonight if it was just one tribal. Mm-hmm. But you allow all these other opportunities to be possible by having a big tribal council.
Yeah, I don't necessarily love like the double boot, but I think if you're going to have it, which it seems to be a new staple of the new era, that's fine. But I think you really need to establish who's on the bottom of the tribe. That way, this double boot can be, bring life into their game, because, all right, now you're only competing against 5 other people. And if you have a, roll the dice majority go your way, that could be the turning point in this game. But as we go in one episode after the merge, where it was pretty cut and dry last time Caleb would have went home, there really wasn't that, all right, we need to shake things up to make sure we get the numbers back on our side tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's like the next scene is we go to the immunity challenge. And once again, like a big part of why Sifu and Caleb ultimately go is just because of a random rock draw. Like you just have these random rock draws deciding the earn the merge. You're deciding who's not making the jury, essentially, who's going to become the first member of the jury, which we talked about this last week, Matt. I knew it was going to happen. Mm-hmm. I didn't know how they were going to implement it, but I was still just like, I was in my group chats with my other friends who watch Survivor. I'm like, there is no world, especially in a world where there's an earn the merge phase. This is the second time they've done it, because they did it to Dwight in season 43, where you got past earn the merge. In my terminology for merge means that you've made the jury portion of the game.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so what is the point of Sifu earning the merge and then still not earning the jury? Because by earning the merge, you earned your spot into the second half of the game. The second half of the game is jury. It's not sucks for you, sorry for you. You get to go with the other pre-jurors.
Yeah. I know it sucks. I mean, it totally sucks. Bummer. But yeah, as far as the immunity, I love this. It's simple. It's the dangerous as shit, big ass pole, and they break them up into 2 groups. There's 2 immunity necklaces up for grabs, and then the person who wins and stays the longest out of the 2 groups wins the reward for that group of people. Tacos and soft drinks, which would be really, really good. That sounds awesome, actually. But 2 people are going home, 2 tribals, and then the first person that goes to tribal and gets voted out does not make the jury, which, yes, total bullshit. Yeah, go ahead.
So I got a couple of things here. One for you, Dan. What do you think they would call this challenge on the challenge?
Pole control.
Yeah, obviously.
That was going to be my comment. You saw it was, how good can you control that pole?
But anyway, so I love this challenge. I knew who the 2 people that were going to win immunity when they split up the groups was going to be Dee and Kelly. We all knew it. Dee's big toe was going to win it for her. And then Kelly's just that frame. Kelly has the frame that was going to win, especially when her other competition, I'm just making sure I have the groups right. Her other competition in her group was Drew. Because Bruce wasn't winning. Sifu wasn't winning. Kendra wasn't winning. And Drew was too tall. Drew's too tall and too lanky to win it.
What would your guys' strategy be for this? Because if you're losing. Way up, but if you're way up high, it's really freaking dangerous. Would you go down low to the final foothold and just try to do it from 2 feet off the ground?
I think you have to start up high. I think you have to start high because that allows you. Because inevitably, at some point, you're probably going to slip. And so by slipping, that allows you, okay, give me, my toes a few second break. Maybe I can bear hug it for a few seconds, but then I can regrip at the next toe hole.
This is what you have to do before you go on Survivor. You have to work on your grip strength.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta have them firm hands.
You do.
Everyone loves a firm handshake.
You do. They do.
And then you gotta work them legs.
Yeah.
You gotta work them thighs. Those thighs have to be ready to really grip on.
But I like the two girls that last the longest,
I love
Dee and Kelly, which is great.
Like Dee's ability, like be able to give her legs a break because she has strong enough legs where she was able to basically be in a seated position.
Yeah.
So it's like that's like the most relaxed your body's ever going to be in that challenge is if you're able to hold that type of position. Kelly, I give all the respect.
The pole.
Yeah.
She kisses the pole, which I hope my wife kisses the pole in about 30 minutes from now. But yes, this challenge is meant for the small framed women. I feel do the best in these type of
small framed women in Aussie.
Yeah, in Aussie. Yeah, it was cool. I like this challenge. People dropped out quick though.
I feel like some people I expected Emily to go out. I was surprised that Drew held on for as long as he did because I know he was skinny, but that wasn't skinny, lean muscle. Like Kelly is skinny, but it was also lean muscle. Like Dee had muscle to it. Like he's just skin and bone at this point. But there was people that I was expecting to drop because of either they're just heavier, wider frame body, or or more of their weight is into their lower body. So it was just the pieces were going to drop. What I wanted to hear Jeff say wasn't for when it was Kelly versus Dee, he kept pitching about you're fighting for a reward. I wanted to hear someone say you are fighting for the lives or for jury for half of these people. For 5 of these people, you are the sole reason why one of them either becomes the first member of the jury or doesn't even make jury.
Yeah, that makes more sense. That's a lot more.
That's the pressure I would have been having in my mind. I wouldn't have been thinking about a fucking taco and a soda.
I thought that's why it was impressive that Kelly held on for as long as she did, because I've never been in the situation, so I can only imagine. But there has to be such that relief that comes over you when you know that you're safe, that I imagine it knocks you out of your concentration for a second and be easy to kind of just slowly give up after that, thinking, I'm good, don't worry about it. But the fact that she held on for as long as she did, I thought it said a lot about Kelly.
And I think one is, I think you obviously just want to win because in terms of your gamemanship, it's you sort of are able to not hold it over them, but you're the reason why one of these people isn't going to be going to the pre-jury Ponderosa. But I think she held even longer specifically because she had Bruce in her group. And I think in a world where she wins, she may be more inclined to let Bruce go because Bruce would be a vote on jury for her. But because she loses, I think that's why she's even more adamant that y'all need the squash y'all's beef for at least a round because I need both of you. And so both of you just sit down, shut up, and vote with me, and you're going to vote Sifu, even though you should have voted Drew.
Well, all I know is there's one that, number one, Dee should start an OnlyFans page for a foot fetish deal where she just sells photos of her big-ass toes. But I do love that when Dee wins and Jeff kind of is like, hey, how does this feel? And she's like, look, this is the American dream, and I'm doing this for my family. And I think literally when she was holding onto that pole, Jonny Fairplay loves the pole, by the way, as well. But she's kissing the pole, and she's kind of just embracing this situation. And I think she is mentally
not even there
family.
Anymore.
Yeah, she's mentally thinking about her family, and I think that's what ultimately made her win win this challenge. So I absolutely love this. So she wins, and then where do we go from here, Alex?
Okay, so they win their immunities, and we start off with reward. So we go to reward
Sanctuary.
Yeah, Sanctuary, where good things happen. Only good things.
Oh yes.
Yes. So they're all doing this, and they're like sort of like there's some tension there because they all know like ultimately someone's still going. And we get that first confessional from Julie saying, like, isn't it obvious? Like, we all just voted Caleb. It makes sense for all of us to just vote Caleb again. Mm-hmm. I would hate for this to turn around on me. And then it cuts over to Jake. And Jake's like, it would be a big shame if Julie went out. And they did this really cool editing with his, like, because this is where, like, we started hearing about his plan. And he's like, I want D out. But because D's not able to go, Julie's her right-hand woman. We need to take Julie out. So if we were to go to tribal, they all think we're voting Caleb. And they cut to tribal council seeing people vote Caleb. And he's like, but we all are going to vote for Julie. And they show the cutaway of people voting for Julie. And he's like, it's going to go to Rocks. Unless we take on Austin, who I view as a scared player. And I love this, that we have all these people having these reads that are like almost there. They're like, they're almost right. But then there's something wrong with it. Like he thinks Austin's going to be playing scared, which you could make a case for that. But like Austin also has all these tools in his pocket. And I do believe he would be loyal to his core four. Yeah. You have D, who's like, Jake's going to do what we want, because why would you get against what we want? If you go against us, you're out. Like sort of mob bossing a little bit. But she doesn't understand that Jake has his own agenda. He doesn't want to be told what to do. He wants to control his own game.
Which I love. I love that. This is where I said he's like really trying to come into his own and play his own game. And he really... His stock went up big time for me as a fan of Jake's tonight's episode.
Well, right here is where I think we see, maybe I would imagine, the first flaw in kind of Dee's game, because she's coming off this high of winning, and Austin is coming to her and saying, hey, I think it may be a good idea to keep Caleb around. Your threat level obviously just raised a ton. He's a good shield. And it's where she kind of shoots that down. No consideration whatsoever. Then you get the comment that Alex just brought up, that why would Jake not go against us? That it's the first time where I was like, oh, Dee's in a really good spot, to now, okay, she's in a good spot now, but can she maintain that and get back to a level head? Is especially in this new era, I think it's so rudimentary to just have the simple fact of my core is going to make it to the end, or Caleb threw out my name, so now I can never work with them. We just don't see that type of loyalty going through the entire way. And why not keep around the bigger threat? Because no one's going to be talking about D if Caleb's still running around and keeps surviving.
Right. Yeah. And I'm going to hold us to red here, because I know in the editing, they go back and forth. I think it makes sense for us here. We're going to go through all of red. We're going to go through all of blue, and then we can do their tribals. So this is where Jake's like, I think the approach was wrong towards Jake. Because I think if Jake came into that water and they had it as like an open flow conversation, instead of what felt more like being directed in order of like, yeah, it's just going to be Caleb, right? With everyone just staring at him. And obviously, what answer is he going to say? Is he going to say, nah, I don't think so. I think we're going to vote for Julie. You know, he didn't feel like it was a given back conversation. It was, I'm being told what to do. Yeah. That's not the game I want. That's not how I want to lead this game. I don't want to be leading this game because I only listen to what other people want to do. This isn't just about surviving. This is about playing and winning Survivor. Yeah. And I loved that. But this is where we ultimately get that huge problem. Because Jake and Caleb are like, we had the plan down. We will convince Austin to join our side for this. And like, like, here's the Jake for putting so much stock into Caleb that he's like, I'm willing to potentially go home here and go to Rocks for this kid because he's that crucial to the plans that I have in my head. But between him and Caleb, they make the mistake of needing to tell Katurah right then and there that Bruce has the idol because Caleb blew his load last week and told Austin and Drew about Bruce's idol. So he's scared that if Austin goes to Katurah and tells her first, we lose her. But the difference is Caleb goes and tells her, and he just tells her what she needs to know. It's just that Bruce does have an idol. He found it right before we left Lulu Beach. It's the Lulu replacement idol. I'm sorry that I held this from you, but like I still have so much trust in you. We can do this. And I think at that point in time, Katurah's in on the plan. She's second guessing a little bit, but she's in on the plan. She then goes to Jake, and I think Jake just like had this issue, and he has the issue again at Tribal of having to speak on it. Is like he decided to be too forthcoming, too honest, and he's not just saying, "Yes, Bruce has an idol." He's like, "That's also why I never lost a ring." And then right then and there is when you lost Katurah. You lost her right then and there because those were the only two people that Katurah could trust from her old Bello and Caleb. And she finds out that even they were semi on Bruce's side over Katurah. They were choosing to hold a secret for Bruce and not inform her. So like you always have this debate of like the devil do you know versus the devil you don't. And we only see a path where Katurah decides, well, you know what? Screw it. I'll go with the devil's side I don't know because at least I know they're against Bruce in some shape or form. And you guys didn't tell me the truth. And you actively did stuff to try to avoid me from finding out the truth.
See, I think it was kind of both of them, though. Maybe she was more okay with the way that Caleb delivered it. And you could be right, Alex.
That's what I mean.
It could be just that. But I think also having this conversation twice, what's going through Katurah's mind is just you withheld this information from me. And the fact that now you're telling me because you want to cash in on that loyalty and we're good. And it's just like, if we are that good, you wouldn't have waited 4 or 5 days to tell me. So I need to question the motives of both of you. Why now? You're only doing it because you need something. So how good am I really with both of you that the only reason you're telling me this now is because you need me?
And
I would be pissed.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, like all of us here would be rightfully pissed if we were in Katurah's shoes. And Katurah's a smart woman. Like she's also putting the simple math around of like, say the plan doesn't work. You're doing all this because you need me to be loyal to you and put my life in the game on the line if it doesn't work. And there's a 2/3 chance that either myself or Jake pull the rock. And you know what? I'd rather not risk a 33% chance that I pick a white rock and I go home because of it. Or purple rock, whatever the rock is.
Yeah, whatever the color. Right.
But I'm going to pick 100% certainty because I know those three are voting for you, Caleb. I wanted you in this game, Caleb, but you know what? It is what it is. I think the only difference she could have done in both tribes, I think a different path could have been made. I think Katurah should have negotiated with old Reba to send Jake home. And because if you truly valued Caleb more than the rest of them, which is what we were being told, get rid of Jake. Get rid of Jake, and that shatters Bello because he was one of the big points of trying to keep everyone together. And then you still have Caleb. You can be a pair, and now you're sort of free agents in one aspect, and maybe that creates a new avenue for you. Whereas now Katurah, I think, is in a spot where Bello's going to isolate her. Emily won't care. And Reba will throw you out the first chance that you get. You went from being on the bottom of Bello to being on the bottom of Reba. The only issue is Reba's more tight.
Right. Yeah, dude. A lot of the thing about these 90-minute episodes is there are a lot of scenarios going down. There's a lot of just confessionals and tribe kind of dynamics at each beach, and So I like that we get this strategic gameplay. Your opinion on Katura is what, you guys? Are you a fan?
Well, she's my winner pick, or
She
my
is your winner
preseason
pick.
winner
Oh,
pick.
okay,
She's not
okay.
winning,
Yeah,
to be clear, but I enjoy that she's playing selfish.
I do too.
Do I hate the fact that it was at the expense of Caleb? Absolutely.
Yes. Oh yeah,
but I
right.
think ultimately you have to pick you every single time when it comes to Survivor, because this is your only chance to play, most likely. Like, you're playing to win. Like, you are still gonna be friends with Caleb outside this show.
Oh yeah,
he did you wrong. I'm gonna pick a path that maybe gets me a few rounds, and in a few rounds, a lot can change.
Oh yeah.
And I'd just be curious, maybe we get a flashback, maybe we don't, of what that conversation was like between Katura and the three of the Reba. Because I think depending upon how she pitched it, she's still a long shot to win, but she could have secured herself till later in the game of being like, hey, I'll help you guys turn against the old Bello when we get back. And, there's 10 of us left. That this move right here may have guaranteed herself to the final 6, final 5, where then anything could happen.
For sure. So now we can break down Blue, because I think Blue is a lot more straightforward. Really, the crux of it all is Bruce is very paranoid that he's going to be going because, people have the gall to talk to each other. God forbid you talk to anyone but Bruce, you are obviously against him, which, to be fair, the issue I have with this editing is we are being told Bruce is annoying. We see Bruce is being annoying, but the issue is his paranoia is more than semi-right to be that paranoid. Because it's like, I don't trust Kendra. Cuts to Kendra like, maybe we could. Maybe we could. I don't like Bruce. I'm trying to throw Katura under the bus. They're going to come back with Caleb being gone and Jake being upset, whereas Bruce is not going to care that Caleb's gone, but he's going to be upset that Jake didn't get his way. So now it's going to be further like, see, I told you, you could never trust Katura. Everyone called me crazy Uncle Bruce, but I was right. I was right all along. But you have this strain of this. It's like you have them wanting to do an easy vote. They're like, oh, well, it's obviously Sifu because Reba won't care. And I wish in real time they could have taken that step back and been like, Reba wouldn't care. So why not Drew? Why not Drew? And then you you push it into Sifu's thick skull while he's doing his Tai Chi yoga or heavy metal yoga, whatever. Heavy metal Tai Chi. And just go, Sifu, Reba ain't with you. But you can come here. You can come here and be Bello. You can be Bello strong with us. You want to be loyal, right? We'll be loyal to you. Let's take out Drew. Drew's been throwing your name under the bus, which he has, even though Drew also wants to take out Bruce. Drew has this idea that Bruce is the person that needs to go. Bruce is the person that is going to stop his incredible gameplay from taking shape. So it's weird. It's weird. And then obviously we have the Kelly of it all. And Kelly's like having to weigh this thing of like, Bruce is this albatross. He is this anchor weighing her down, causing her to sink faster and faster. And she needs to know the right time of when do you cut that anchor loose. And is now the time. And she, in her best thinking, is like, no, this is not the time.
See, I think Bruce having that conversation with Sifu would have been great, not only to pull it in, but both Sifu and Bruce are both delusional enough to think of themselves as these big threats. So you have those two have this conversation of like the big threats got to stay together.
I think Bruce should have just said to Sifu, like, hey, we'll do this tackling competition. But if you get called for holding, you have to vote with us. And then Bruce just says that Sifu holds. And Sifu's just going to be like, you know what? I'm a man of my word. I have to vote with him tonight. And then there you go.
So here we're basically going into the two tribals, right?
Yes.
Right. That's tribal number one. One thing I have in my notes is and Dan, and you said this phrase several times this episode, is the word new era. They tend to say this. Jeff Probst or someone mentions like the new era, the new era. Are you guys like tired of hearing the word new era at this point? Like, because you guys are younger than like Johnny and I and stuff like that. We're more.
I'll be real. It goes in one ear out the other.
Yeah.
Most of Tribal Council to me, it's not that I tune out, but I'm like tightening up my notes during it. Like I don't write notes from Tribal unless like I start hearing something that really perks my ears.
It makes a crazy difference. Yeah.
And like the Caleb Tribal last week is when I started writing down notes at Tribal, and I was like, this is interesting. Let's see what he's doing here. Let's see if it pays off. Because these type of Tribal Councils where it's like pretty cut and dry. I have an idea of who's going home. I'm like, all of this is just fluff to me. All this
and that's what I felt that way
most
tonight.
of it is. It's theater.
Tonight was like that. I felt I didn't barely take any notes during Tribal because I was like, this is kind of uneventful because as Dan said, it would have been way better to have one giant Tribal. So, Kendra says she wants to build trust with people. Sifu claims he knows he's a threat, and he's been feeling a bad vibe all day long. And he was correct because at the end of the day, even though Sifu is trying to make statements and stuff at Tribal to try to save himself, at the end of the day, it does not work, and Sifu is the one who is targeted. And I think Sifu's a great guy.
I was going to say, Alex said it earlier, but it was Sifu had just accepted the fact that he was going home tonight, and he seemed okay with it. But it was, where did we see Sifu? Maybe he did, and we just didn't see it. But where do we see Sifu having these conversations outside of where they're bringing him in with the group? We don't see him trying to pitch against anyone else or try to drive the game anyway. It just seemed going into it that he's like, oh, I'm done. He just accepted it and was, let's just enjoy the rest of the day. I guess it's my last day here.
I think the issue probably is he probably did do his version of strategizing, but I think it's like, I think production tries to protect people when it's just like not good.
Yeah, right.
And I think they appreciated Sifu in a sense, so they were like, we'll give you the funny confessionals. We will hide your strategic gameplay because it was not strategic gameplay, and that's like ultimately why Kelly decides Sifu as well. Like their main driving force is the Sifu is seen as a wild card. You don't know what his vote would be like if he was sent onto the jury. So let's remove at least one wild card from the mix.
Sifu's 100% the guy that's just like pick a number between 1 and 10. All right, you get my vote.
No, I think Sifu's the one who votes based off camp life. He's like the dude from also from 43. I forget what his name was. But he was the one. No,
not Roxy.
That's 42. 43. I forget the dude's name, but he was the one who was like his boot episode. He went out fishing, and like he did not strategize at all. It was just like, but
I
like
know who you're talking about. Yeah.
You know who I'm talking about, but the name doesn't matter. He's never gonna play again.
No.
But that's the archetype. That's the archetype that Sifu was. And ultimately he goes. I still think, especially knowing as the viewer that Drew didn't have his safety without power because he left it at camp or at his OG camp.
Yeah.
Which at this point, even though it's a risk to do it, it's like you need to take any advantages that you have, put it in your bag or wherever you bring with you to these challenges, because there's so many times now where they do these things where you get sent to not your camp. And I would never want to risk not being able to have all the tools in my toolbox ready to go. It shouldn't
Especially
be something that they would have to think about. I know, like it's like it is what it is, but I'm like in my head, I'm like, they could have just taken Drew out. This is like all this perfect stuff, and it's like Drew keeps getting all these lucky fucking breaks of these people just deciding to play bad.
He does.
So
Sifu's voted out on Tribal number 1. He went out with class.
Yep.
Good on you, Sifu. Then goes to tribal council number 2. And Sifu is not part of the jury because that's the way the rules of this thing went.
No neck tattoo.
Yeah, dude. No neck tattoo. So
no, don't worry. There was some addendums in there.
No, I didn't agree to that bullshit.
You have to read the fine print, Dan.
I didn't sign shit.
So Dee feels like she's had a bunch of genuine conversations in this group. Jake says he respects everyone, but listen, there's only one sole survivor. So Jake is like at least playing the game. Caleb claims like, look, I just took my foot off the gas. I realized that I got everyone's vote last time, played my shot in the dark, so I had to kind of chill out, but I feel like it's a little bit too late because Caleb has painted himself as this big threat this entire game, just with his just social game and just being just a likable guy and a used car salesman type of personality that we've seen in earlier episodes. So Caleb did himself no favors, and especially when this is, this double tribal deal, Caleb ends up being the one that goes home, which sucks. I posted in our Facebook chat that I was really bummed. Is it surprising? No. Does it suck? Yes, because I think he was great. But I'm rooting for Emily now. She's still in the game. She's going to be very bummed. But I feel like Emily will adapt to Caleb's being gone. I think she's going to adapt and be able to kind of work her way in with some of the other people and hopefully go deep into the game.
I love her story from like starting episode 1 is like probably one of the most like she was self-aware, but not like self-aware to the point where she could help herself. So she was basically not self-aware to being one of the most self-aware people left in the game.
Oh yeah.
Her transformation across just 7 episodes it's been a complete 180. It's been incredible.
Someone mentioned to me that they think Emily is like not in the same way, but in the end result, they see her as the Carolyn. Like there's such a focal point for the entire season, but when they get to the end, ultimately doesn't get the win.
Yeah,
doesn't seal the deal.
She's definitely turned around for me. Like I really dig her. Caleb, loved watching you play. It sucks, dude. You're a killer. And there's a lot of luck involved in Survivor. We always say that. There's so many new twists and turns that, man, luck is more than ever a part of how you make it deep into the game of Survivor.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I was going to say, I did love in this tribal that the first round of questioning, because everyone was aware that, okay, the jury starts now, that everyone started like their jury statements being like, oh, I love everyone here. Like, we're going to lose a great person tonight. And they were already starting thinking like, okay, so-and-so is going home. So I'm going to start buttering them up before they go out the door. And it wasn't just one person. It was everyone who answered that first line of questions.
And unfortunately, it didn't work. It didn't work. I was hoping that he didn't say a word. Mm-hmm. I wanted him to be like, I don't say a word. Gets up, just like muttering to himself, grab his torch, get it snuffed, just keeps walking. Like doesn't acknowledge Reba, does not acknowledge Qatar. Like give Jake the fist bump, whatever, the dap up, and go. That's all I needed because I was just like, dude.
Well, I think that's the sole reason why when, it's right after Jake hugs him, says, oh, like, Julie, it was me. We can talk. And I think it was because you could sense how pissed off Caleb was that going out the door, he wanted to give him that confirmation that, hey, dude, it wasn't me.
Yeah, Caleb was pissed.
You could have whispered some sweet nothings into his ear.
Yeah, it's gnarly.
But I guess with his accent, you wouldn't be able to understand it that much if he tried doing that. So, you know what? But like, for all people that get upset with you, might as well be Julie. Like, unfortunately for Julie, she is very quickly falling into, I think, that mother role. That just
who is that? Who is that blonde lady? Who is that blonde Christian lady that was older?
You mean on San Juan del Sur?
No, no. I'm talking about on a recent season.
You talking about Heather?
Heather. Yeah, Heather.
Julie gets more airtime than Heather.
Yeah.
That is such a low bar.
Julie, Julie doesn't do much for me. I'll be honest with
I
you.
feel bad because like I want to like her. I want
I
to
do
like
too.
Julie, and I feel like in real life would love to have a conversation with
Oh,
Julie.
I'm sure Julie totally
but
rules.
she's the loyal player. She's
She
the
is.
I'm loyal to these specific people, and so all the other moves just make sense. And I'm gonna
Yep.
be exasperated when no one agrees with that
Oh,
outside
yeah.
of my group.
Right.
Shocking.
Oh yeah. Yep. I hear you. But overall, like I said, this episode was a little bit slower, but I'm cool with it because in the
Yeah.
previews for next episode, everyone is ecstatic over the Survivor auction is back. I cannot wait. So I think we're gonna have a good episode next week. And Caleb, Sifu, sorry to see you go, but that's the game of Survivor. There's only one winner and a bunch of fucking losers. Jonny, like I said, is in Chicago tonight. And if you want to go see Jonny Fairplay at Survivor viewing parties or House of Villains viewing parties, Survivor Tix, that's SurvivorTix.com or VillainTix.com, takes you to the same place. You can find out all the information. We're doing a Cincinnati event, 29th and 30th of November, I'm thinking. So that's always fun when Jonny comes to town. So if you've never been to a viewing party, I would highly suggest you go do it. It's really fun, but then you'll have to go back home and watch the episode again because every time I'm at a viewing party, I am talking to so many Survivor fans that I don't know what the fuck is going on. Hence the podcast that Alex and I did a couple weeks ago
Hey,
when I was at Bryce and Wendell's. It was. And I actually have a poster right here that, yeah, this is they had posters, Bryce and Wend tour, Dayton, Ohio. So yeah, that was fun. So I know that the Hearts of Reality event is canceled. However, there are Bryce and Wendell and Jonny Fairplay are big time involved in making it still a great reality weekend. Jonny's going to have a King George book signing. If you don't know who King George is, watch Australian Survivor, one of the greats. And then, yeah, I think there's going to be like some sort of viewing party presented by Bryce and Wendell. So a lot of cool stuff. It's really cool when the reality stars like Jonny and Bryce and Wendell kind of step up to still make something great for the fans. Because at the end of the day, we all love Survivor, whether we are a former contestant like myself or fans like Alex and Dan. We all love this show. That's why you're listening to this podcast. So, guys, thank you so much, Alex and Dan. Always a great time. And we will see you all next week for another episode of Survivor Season 45. Cheers, all you guys and girls. Good night. Bang.